Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Knicks on Top post game video. I'm your guy David from Top Bunk Sports, and yeah, man, the New York Knicks collapsed in the fourth quarter and dropped this one 115 to 104 to the Minnesota Timberwolves again. Um, I would say I was actually not that upset about this game for multiple reasons. One, they gave the opportunity to Tyler Kolek. And I know people are gonna be like, "Well, top if Brunson wasn't gonna play and there's no Deuce McBride, who else was gonna start?" Absolutely. Um, I'm just happy that again I'm saying it from a standpoint of I'm happy that he's getting his opportunity. So with that being said, you saw in full effect what Tyler Kolek is able to do when he gets the ball in his hand and he gets more minutes to play with, right? Tyler Kolek being able to read the floor, very good point guard within his IQ, being able to shoot the ball very effortlessly. Being able to find his teammates in certain spots, being able to play quick in transition. Of course, he had a little bit, small hiccups here and there, right? Two turnovers. I know in one of the turnovers, I think Julius Randle in that fourth quarter where he went off stole the ball and scored on Cat, and that's where Mike Brown called the timeout, and he kind of, you know, was pulling Tyler Kolek to the side and kind of gave him shit for that. And you like that, right? We all say we want a coach that's gonna get in you, pause, and hold you accountable for certain shit. And you saw that with Mike Brown. You've seen that with Mike Brown since he's been the head coach of the New York Knicks this year. But the most important thing that impressed me was obviously Karl-Anthony Towns got his way. Karl-Anthony Towns went in there. Karl-Anthony Towns dropped 40 points, 13 rebounds, had no issues whatsoever coming back to his home to his old stomping grounds in Minnesota and basically delivering the message. I think his defense in the fourth quarter should have been a little bit better, which is kind of why I feel like that was part of the collapse. I'm not saying it's totally his fault, right? I also feel like the lineup that Mike Brown had in there was kind of a questionable move, but at the same time, his defense plays a part in the Knicks not being able to get certain stops, right? He gets blocks here and there, but when you're telling him to cover a man and he's on the island, he's on a one-on-one, he gets cooked a lot. So, you want Karl-Anthony Towns to be a little bit more efficient on the defensive end, but other than that, I think he had a great game. Again, a really good game for Tyler Kolek, and I bring up Tyler Kolek because this is a guy that Knick fans wanted to trade last year. This is a guy that Knick fans wanted to trade this year, and I've always said, I love when we picked him up in the draft. A guy that I saw playing Marquette, a guy that seemed comfortable with the basketball. A lot of the times, if you see him in Marquette, they played through him, right? They understood what he brings to the court. So the Knicks being able to draft a guy like Tyler Kolek and you're kind of seeing what he brings on the court and how he's able to affect his teammates in a positive way, especially the last couple of games, right? You saw it against the Spurs like in the NBA Cup champion. You saw it against you saw it against Minnesota yesterday, where now he's getting starter minutes, and he's going into a situation where now everything is upon him to, like I said, get his teammates right, get his teammates in position, move the ball better, go ahead and really establish a pattern within the game that he's playing. So, I think he did a good job. I just think again, defensively, the Knicks really couldn't stop anything. Anthony Edwards got into his way. 32. He had 32 points in the fourth quarter at one point, and that right there just set the tone because a lot of the times when the Knicks found a little bit of momentum in this game, Anthony Edwards wasn't in the game, right? So once he gets back in the game, it's like they really had no answer for him. And then obviously, like I said, Julius Randle went he went mayhem in the fourth quarter. Geez, you just I was sitting there and I was like, he's there flexing to the crowd. He's there talking shit. And I'm just like, man, if only OG Anunoby was playing on that court. He's not doing that with OG Anunoby on the court. That's just 100% fact. He is not doing that with OG Anunoby on the court, and that is a fact. Um, Let's see. Let me go. What I want to do is just go to the box score a little bit, just to kind of give you guys some feedback on the game on the game again. The Knicks went on 2 runs yesterday. They went on a 16-2 run from 5 minutes of the second quarter to 55.1 second of that second quarter, and then they went on a 17 run from 9 minutes of the third quarter to 5 minutes of the third quarter. And the only run that the Wolves had was in the beginning of the end of the first quarter to the at least late to the middle second quarter, where they went on a 20-6 run, 26-6 run, excuse me, where it was 2 minutes of the first quarter up until 7 minutes of the second quarter. So, you found it there, and then, like I said, the game was basically back and forth. I mean, by the end of the third quarter, then the Timberwolves found themselves up maybe by like 5 or 6 points. They were up by 6 at halftime, but they found themselves in a groove going into the fourth quarter after they hit a buzzer beater, right? But specifically, what got them into that groove was Julius Randle. Julius Randle in that fourth quarter scored 17 points. He shot 7 or 9 from the field. He was perfect from the free throw line. He only had one turnover, and he finished the game with 25.6 rebounds and 3 assists. Again, those 25 points were quiet because it wasn't up until the fourth quarter where he woke up and just went, "Hey, mayhem." If you look at the last 3 quarters, right? In the first quarter, he only had 4 points. The second quarter, only 2 points. He was a -6 and point differential, and then in the third quarter, he had 2 points. So he was a +1 in point differential. And then, like I said, fourth quarter, he went off. He was a +5 in point differential. So the Knicks really had no answer for him in the fourth quarter. And I think for me, when the only source of offense is basically Tyler Kolek and Cat, you're not going to win like that. Again, Mikal Bridges at times defensively, nobody really wants to have this conversation because I know people are kind of looking at Mikal in terms of a scoring option. If you look at his box score, he had what? Let me see. Mikal Bridges. Mikal is Mikal even? Oh, yep. Mikal had 15 points, 3 rebounds, played 38 minutes. So he had a solid 15 points. But if you look at you look at his presence on the defensive side, he didn't really make a presence. He didn't make himself known on the defensive side, and I think Knick fans are kind of missing that a little bit. Again, you're Josh Hart being a -5 in point differential, but Josh Hart looked like he was frustrated all night. He didn't like the way the refs were calling the game. He was always arguing, and it got to a point where, you know, he went up for he tried to get a rebound, didn't get it. Then he tries to the ball still in play, he tries to get the rebound again, and then all of a sudden he falls into the ground, tries to swipe Rudy Gobert's feet. That didn't happen. They get in each other's faces. He pushes Rudy Gobert, and it's just like, I totally get it, because again, he was frustrated with the refs all night. They weren't making certain calls in the beginning of the game, and then towards the end of the game, they started making different calls. And I guess, in Josh Hart's defense, he was basically like, "Yo, like, are we gonna be consistent here or what?" So I get that in a way when it comes to that situation, but at the same time, bro, you got to be better. You got to be better. You can't let the refs dictate your emotions in these games. You can't let the refs dictate your game, because when you do that, you lose out on all sort of the fashion of the game. You really do. You really do, because now you're not focused mentally on the game itself. Now you're trying to wonder, all right, what the hell do I got to do to get calls? It's the same shit with Cat. It's the same shit with Cat. We call Cat on that bullshit all the fucking time. What does Cat do every time he gets to the basket? He doesn't get a call. He's yelling. He's looking at the ref like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And it's like, "Yo, Cat, at the end of the day, bro, it's more about the refs at this point, bro. You got to find other ways to score. You want to be one of the best players in the fucking league, you got to find ways to make adjustments and score." And yes, at times it's not always going to be like that, right? It's not always going to play into that factor where you can make those adjustments, and all of a sudden the refs are going to be like, "All right, now I'll give you calls." I 100% get that. Totally get that. But at the same time, you letting the refs take you out mentally. It's gonna fuck it up because now you can't focus back in the game. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. Everybody has that issue. Same thing with Brunson. Bro, Brunson doesn't get a call. Brunson's out here just trying to fucking get the ball back, chuck up a three, chuck up a floater, and just trying to foul. Now I wouldn't call it foul bait, but he's trying to draw a foul to get the ref's attention. And it's just like, bro, you doing that and you not playing, you not going back to consistent basketball, you're only hurting your team. So with Josh, Josh again, 15, good. I think what 15 points he said. Go back to the box score because the guys again. I'm doing this today on Christmas Eve, December 3rd. Merry Christmas to everybody that celebrates. I celebrated as well. I will be doing a post game video after tomorrow's Knicks miss game against the Cleveland Cavaliers is done. But again, 12 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, minus 5 in point differential. If you look at his box score, it wasn't that bad, right? It was not that bad. But there were certain moments in the game where he's complaining to the referee. You're just kind of like, yo, bro, like, okay. You're not getting back on defense. You're not really doing nothing on the defensive side to really help this team. And all you're doing is complaining to the ref. Bro, snap out of it. Snap out of it. So, again, a beautiful game from Cat. Like I said, 40 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. It was a +6 in point differential. And again, nobody else really made a positive effect like that. Really, besides Cat and Kolek. So, defensively, you want them to get better. Defensively, you want them to get better. Again, I think our perimeter defense continues to suck, but they just couldn't get stops, and I think that was the main thing. And especially for Kolek and Cat to kind of keep them in the game, and find their groove like that, and at least go into that fourth quarter where they could have done something, but then they ended up just flattening out. They were flatlined in that fourth quarter. That's what hurt them. Just inconsistencies on defense, and then not being able to make adjustments mid game. And Mike Brown kind of held players accountable. He held Cat accountable in a way. He said, he's a great player, but he has to stop getting those cheap fouls. And that's me paraphrasing. Again, and I know people are like, well, you can't really blame it on Cat because of the game he had. I'm not blaming everything on Cat. But at the same time, when you put yourself in foul trouble, you put the entire team in foul troubles because you know what you bring as a player. There's no other player right now on the team that could duplicate that. So, I wanted to make this a short post game, nothing too crazy. I felt like this game was self-explanatory from the max. Being able to score the basketball, being able to run at a fast pace the entire way through. The rock was moving. You saw Mohamed Diarra get a three. You saw Mitchell Robinson grab efficient rebounds. Kolek having his moment. Jordan Clarkson hitting clutch threes. Again, the ball was moving and guys were moving without the ball, and that was good to see on the offensive side. Defensively, we couldn't get stops. And then in a moment in the fourth quarter where you're down at least you're down at least 6 points, then that whole fourth quarter just drops, and you let Julius Randle, who is in his revenge game, get his momentum, and that was the problem. He found his momentum, and every time he scored, the Knicks had no answer. Knicks had no answer, and that was it. So yeah, man. Again, Knicks dropped this one, 115-104. They lose this one without Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. Ninth loss of the season. The Knicks are 20-9 on the year. And yeah, man. Hopefully everybody's healthy and good for our game against the Cavs tomorrow. I'm sure it will. I'm sure they will be. It's already been reported that Jalen Brunson will play tomorrow, so that's good. I think tomorrow's game is more important. I think that's kind of why Jalen Brunson and OG really didn't play. I don't really think it's injury. I think they just wanted to give those two guys a rest and have them ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow's more important. It's not just a Knicks game on national television. You're playing against your conference rivals who are chasing you in the standings. So, you want to have everybody healthy and ready to go to take care of those more important games. So, yeah, Knicks lose this one. Like I said, 115-104. They collect their 9th loss of the year. They play tomorrow at 12 o'clock in the Garden against the Cleveland Cavaliers for their Christmas game. They start off the day, a special day, with that game. And yeah, man, this is another Knicks on Top post-game video. Hopefully the Knicks come in tomorrow, play better, and we get back on the win column. But I am your guy, Dave, from Top Bunk Sports. I appreciate everybody watching this Knicks post game. Make sure you guys like, share the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Top Bunk Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you guys follow me at Top Bunk Sports on X, Instagram, and TikTok. And I will check you guys on the next video. Peace.